Well, the conversation starts from the track and field scene where Chukwebuka and Enekwechi delivered a groundbreaking performance at the 2025 Classic in Eugene on Saturday, breaking the African record of shot put throw with a stunning throw of 22.10 meters to finish third in the most competitive one-day meet in athletics history. The 32-year-old became the first African ever to surpass the 22-meter barrier in the men's shot put and now holds 7 of the top 10 African all-time marks as he continues to push the boundaries of what African throwers have achieved globally. The event at the Howard Field, which marked the ninth leg of the 2025 Diamond League, witnessed an unprecedented 5 athletes throwing over 22 meters for the first time in history. Nigeria's presence at the record-breaking meet was strongly felt beyond Enekwechi. World record holder talk about 100-meter hurdles Toby Amusen continued their fine form by finishing second in 12.38 seconds behind Jamaica's Akera Nonget, who won in 12.32. American Kendra Harrison was third in 12.50 seconds. Away from that, the 2025 ITTF Africa West Regional Championships is set to hit a new milestone of participation with over 10 countries confirmed for the tournament in Lagos, surpassing previous editions that peaked at 9. Lagos will host the championships from July 16 to July 19 at the Molado Koya Thomas Hall, Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos. These year's championships will feature strong competition from across the region, with the Benin Republic, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Guinea, Liberia, Niger Republic, and Sierra Leone joining the fray. Notably, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Niger Republic are returning to the competition after 9 years of absence. Defending champions Nigeria and Togo are gearing up to retain their titles at the tournament. Away from that now to WTA scene where world number 1 Arina Zabalenka overcame a battling Elisa Mertens to reach the quarterfinals and stay on course for her first Wimbledon title. The 27-year-old who reached the semi-finals in 2021 and 2023 won 6-4, 7-6 and will next face world number 104 Lotte Sigmund for a place in the last 4. This has been a tournament in which many seeds have tumbled, and Zabalenka was the only top 6 seed remaining in the women's draw. It hasn't been plain sailing for Zabalenka as she came through a tough match against British number 1 Emma Raducanu to set up a meeting with Elisa Mertens. This again was perhaps tougher than expected, particularly as Zabalenka had beaten 24th seed Mertens 9 times in a row prior to the meeting at Wimbledon. Zabalenka's next opponent is the oldest woman left in the Wimbledon singles draw. We're still talking tennis now to the ATP scene. Carlos Alcaraz was pained by an opening under the Rublev Soch on Sunday evening at Wimbledon, but the two-time defending champion quickly unleashed the best tennis of the 2025 grass major so far to book his quarterfinal spot in London. The number 2 player in the ATP rankings, Alcaraz rallied to a 6-7, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4 victory on center court for his 22nd consecutive tour level victory. In the first all-time 20 top clash of the men's singles draw so far, the 22-year-old Spaniard raised his level after dropping the opening set and produced some trademark moments of crowd-pleasing brilliance en route to a 2-hour and 43 minutes round victory. With his victory, Alcaraz became just the second active male player to reach the quarterfinals at all 4 majors on multiple occasions, after Marlon Cilic, Novak Djokovic, Kei Nishikori, Yannick Sinner, and Stan Wawrinka. Standing between the Spaniard and the third consecutive last 4 appearance at Wimbledon will be home favourite Norrie, who earlier aged Nicolas Jarry 6-3, 7-6, 6-7, 6-7, 6-3 in a 4.5-hour epic game. Well, finally now to the world of football. West Ham United, we have rejected the €50 million bid from Tottenham Hotspur for midfielder Mohamed Kudus. Kudus, 24 years of age, has an €85 million release clause in his contract, which can only be activated by other Premier League clubs. Although West Ham are open to letting him go at a lower fee, the Ghana international joined West Ham in 2023 from Ajax and has emerged as a leading target for new sports boss Thomas Frank this summer. It is expected Tottenham Hotspur to return with an improved offer. Kudus has played 80 games for West Ham, scoring 19 goals and contributing 13 assists. But that's all we have for in Sports Wrap Up at this time. We'll take a very short break, and when we return, we'll have all of these stories and much more extensively with the guy is also Johnny. Do stay with us.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. We are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Rescan your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250, polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further enquiries, please call 0704 158 56 5642 or 0704 541 7707. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
The depth of knowledge, fun, and entertainment you experience on Spectrum Television can never be overstated, especially when you get them all at once. At Spectrum Television, we start your day with insightful political and social discussion, a spotlight on Africa and the world's view. On well-being, we prioritize your health and mental space, staying fit and achieving goals. Stay updated with the business world, financial markets, and global economic analysis. We bring you all the latest from the world of sports and cutting-edge innovations, looking at the future of tech on Tech Inside. And stay updated with the latest in entertainment and music on Entertainment Now. Cause you see people don't really know you. Our carefully crafted content is designed to broaden your horizons and keep you informed and entertained. You won't want to miss a minute. Killer, shower you with all my attention. Yeah, these are my only intentions. Watch Spectrum Television live on free to air. We scan your decoder to continue receiving the best of our signals or stream live at www.spectrumtvlive.ng. For more inquiries, call 0704 158 5642. Don't let this love hold you down. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to another important time where we talk about the best of stories in the world of sports. It is Sports Central, and my name is Vlad Ulkem. Exciting times ahead. As you can see, the guys are seated on the table of greatness, are ready for the talking point and excitement that comes with it. Whichever diving funny thing are ready for it. We've seen the Club World Cup over the weekend. Much anticipation. The last four are the teams that's met round. Fluminense, Chelsea would be next, and we're talking about Paris Saint-Germain having that victory against Bayern Munich, a sad story for Jamal Musiala and injury in that direction. But the big man, no wonder many are touting him to win the Ballon d'Or. He came in and met the difference. Ousmane Dembele scoring a fantastic goal in that direction and getting them that victory despite being down to 9 men. Well, part of the Euros, the women's Euros taking place and center stage, England had to lose the first game, becoming the first defending champion to lose the opener in the championship. Well, other teams did the best they can, pushing even further. The host, Switzerland, getting their first victory just yesterday is that conversation. And similarly, from an African point of view, in the world of football, definitely the WAFCON. The Super Falcons of Nigeria started at a flying note, getting a victory over their opponent Tunisia. And we're talking about the South Africans defending that title, and it starts all today. Well, the world of tennis has been bubbling so and so. Wimbledon taking center stage. To David, good morning. Valentina, good morning. So good to see you. And your week.
An excellent time to return, Biden, and I'm quite excited about the WAFCON being here, particularly, and for the Super Falcons of Nigeria, starting it on the front foot, 3 massive goals to nothing. Shows intent about the Super Falcons side to, of course, accomplish the mission X. It started on Sunday, and more to come for them.
More to come for them, Valentina.
I'm excited to be here. President with our brother here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, talking about Riga Zabalenka, her very first Grand Slam was a double, win there, and she won it with the lady Elise Martins, and she's gone on to defeat her 11 times out of 13 times. It's almost as if she studied her for years just to keep beating her on and on.
Well, she's a superior player.
Oh, definitely.
She's a world number one for a reason.
Exactly. Now into the next round of the let's see what holds for her now in the future.
And let's see what holds for her in the future. But we begin a conversation this morning from the Athletics Federation. Well, exciting times and sad story. Remember, recently we've talked about Favor Ofili and the saga that came with it. And recently we also heard from Amar Bong in that direction where that complaints was also about a lack of not welfare this time. Fair welfare was that of welfare. And when we're talking about this one, it sounds totally different. We're looking forward to what could happen. But she spoke about the fact that Nsoko speaking about the fact that the Federation, Athletics Federation, did not help her out regarding her location at the end of it, because while you're updating stuff about this on the platform, the athletics platform, it's always required where your location is and where you're supposed to take part in some of these testing situation. But it wasn't that for Nsoko in that direction, so she missed it and she blames the federation for the reason for it. And it's saying there's corruption in the system. Whatever that I start with you, I think you followed the story. You saw the WhatsApp message from her that came out, and at the end of it, a sad story again.
Well, I think it's been quite an age-long conversation where we talk about the athletics federation and what ought to be done, what has not been done in recent times, and while we keep seeing our athletes, are going to represent other nations at international competition. One of them being Silko's, case at the moment. First, she's not even banned for anti-doping violation. She's been banned because the AFN, as a body, which is also saddled with the responsibility of trying to carry out testing for these athletes prior to a major international tournament, failed to do that. And we've actually seen it, not just with the lady in Silko. It has actually happened to other athletes as well. They are saddled with the responsibility, first of all, as a federation, to test these players and also, of course, showcase their location, in the list, to, of course, warrant the International Athletics Unit to understand what exactly is wrong with these athletes heading to major competitions. So they failed to do that. And that's why we're also having this ban upon the lady at the moment. And I think it is also, of course, for the FN to know that what we're seeing at the moment, which I think, if it continues this way, we'll definitely see massive exodus of athletes, trying to, represent other countries. Recently, we've had Qatar also, bidding humongous amounts of money trying to lure athletes to represent them. Talking about fast rising nations, we're also talking about Saudi Arabia investing in sports. So we may just likely at the end see most of these are athletes, if they're not treated well right in the shores of a country, go and represent those countries that are doing better. So I think the FN have to sit up at the moment, know exactly what to do at the right time. Otherwise, it might be detrimental to Nigeria's success at international games.
It might be detrimental to Nigeria's success at international games. And funny thing, you've seen everything that's happened in this one. The specific aspect of it was she had to include a location when doing updating those stuff. But at the end of it, she wasn't able to do it. The more she did it, because I went through the WhatsApp message she had, and she was speaking to the authorities and Athletics Federation. They couldn't help her at the end of it because every time she did that, information kept coming. She thought she has updated it. At the end of it, realized it's not up there. So big concern, and the international body had to respond to it after missing some testing. She had a limited time, and all the effort she gave to the authorities, nothing was to no avail. And this situation we're having, and she's been now banned due to non-doping violation.
Well, I say it's terrible times for the Athletics Federation of Nigeria because when you look at recent times, talking about the favour of Felix debacle, then now we're talking about Nsukka. I feel it's a point to the incompetence of the AFN. I feel it should be disbanded, a complete overhaul of that particular administration because when you look at them, they've failed. You cannot pass a no vote of confidence more than this. We've seen them fail in the favour of Felix case, fail for Nsukka. Now, I feel it's just that time where the National Sport Commission should do something about that particular body because if they are doing their job well, we don't have cases like this and repeatedly. So I feel it's just it should be something that's set in stone now. That particular body should be disbanded, a complete overhaul of that body.
Well, the other conversation would be why it's only in Soko in this now. Other athletes too who were able to update it. But it goes on to show that personal growth also plays a factor, and whatsoever it is, the other angle of it, yes, would be the very fact that she couldn't get response when she needed the federation the most. Quite sad in that direction. But quickly, let's move ahead and talk about a talking point in the world of tennis now. It's the Wimbledon Open, second week on the road now, taking center stage and building momentum even further. Well, the conversation starts with Anisimova battling and getting past Noskova to return to Wimbledon quarterfinals, and that's now Amanda Anisimova getting the better of Linda Noskova 6-2, 5-7, and 6-4. But front, let's talk about this now. Not a surprising one at all, but good victory at the end of it.
Well, yeah, for Amanda Nisimova, I feel it's been a battle of not so top names right now. When you look at about Amanda Nisimova, she's not in the top 10 women's ranking either, is even on the score bar. So, it was just that question of which of
I
them.
should get into the top 10 immediately after now.
Yeah, definitely.
After Wimbledon.
Exactly, but she was out of the top 10.
Yeah.
It's just a case of the people who were in the top 10, the athletes who were in the top 10 before this particular Wimbledon, not doing well enough. So right now we're going to have a lot of shake-ups in the ranking, WTA rankings in particular. So for Amanda Nisimova, it's not just about getting to the quarterfinals. How far can you go after the quarterfinals? So it's going to be a matter of who she meets right now in the quarterfinals.
Well, she gets to meet Anastasia Polichenkova in that direction. So I'm not too tough an opponent, man would say, but it's the very fact that she's got in the quarterfinals, a tough game to play in it. Ultimately, let's talk about the one regarding world number one. We've seen Sabalenka and what she's been able to do, especially in the world of tennis, Arena Sabalenka, but she's building that momentum, just like Fon talked about quite early on the show. I said she got better of Alice Mertens, world number 24. They've been partners before now, and somewhat somehow she's been a dominant figure against her former partner.
Yeah, I think when you are used to beating a particular opponent, even going into that competition, you already know there's this level of confidence you have that you certainly get the better of her once again. And I think that's what Arena Zabalenka is doing at the moment. It wasn't a so difficult game for Arena Zabalenka if you actually followed the game. It was more like, of course, a game where she's been here before. So she just tried to repeat what she's been doing over time against her friend right there. But I think I do not know how difficult it would be for Zabalenka now, because now we're talking about these quarterfinals. The most top seeded in this competition after others exited at the early stage. So it looks quite easy to say she'll go straight to the finals and maybe win this one. As a matter of fact, she hasn't won the Wimbledon before in her career. So it certainly shows you there is also some level of drive for Zabalenka to go all out, go to the finals and win it as well. I do not see any lady at the moment who could potentially be a stumbling block for Zabalenka not to win the Wimbledon. I think this is where she will break that record. If she doesn't win this one, I don't know when she will win it at the moment. But I think it is Zabalenka's year.
To what David is saying, Sabalenka's, I don't know if one has a different opinion on this, but somewhat somehow many gets to look at the stocks that are available for her and the challenge she can get. At the end of the likes of Polichenkova overcame Cartel, and we're talking about the British international Sora Cartel, missing out of getting to our first quarterfinals in a Grand Slam. But it's that conversation. Let's quickly talk about the main game. Carlos Alcaraz finding his best form on Sunday when it has to do with this one. Going past Andrei Rublev in Wimbledon. A number 2 seed for the team at 6-7, 6-3, 6-4, 6-4. A victory on center court, getting better of Rublev.
Well, definitely for Carlos Alcaraz, he has to do that. He knows he has to do that. He's currently chasing Yannick Sinner's record as world number 1. So he wants to overthrow Yannick Sinner. There's a chance that if Yannick Sinner gets knocked out in the very next stage of this and he goes on to win this particular competition, the gap will reduce even further. So for Carlos Alcaraz,
he's a defending champion.
Exactly. So
and he won it back to back.
Yeah. So for Carlos Alcaraz, he's just coming from the Roland Garros where he won that particular championship. Now he wants to win a particular champion. He wants to win back-to-back championships. So I feel it's going to be great to see him go. But you cannot, override the fact that he's been struggling right from the first round up till now. So it's still a matter of would we finally get an opponent that can knock him out? And next opponent is Cameron Norrie. Yeah. So the question is still there. When would we see Carlos Alcaraz at his very best in the Wimbledon? That's the question now.
Well, a big question for the team has given it to David, but we've seen Cameron Norrie. We've really spoken about the British international now. And in recent times, he's not really performed well, but somewhat somehow this year, as home turf, this year he's gotten, the fans are rallying behind him. He's gotten to the quarterfinals of it, something to really praise about Cameron Norrie. But the question is, Cameron Norrie, Carlos Alcaraz now, end of the road for the superstar, a British international representing the British people after the likes of Jack Draper have altered their lines.
I have my doubts whenever it has to do with British players because if there was anybody who would give me so much confidence would have been Jack Draper, but unfortunately, was knocked out at the early stage of a competition.
Over time, Cameron Norrie has been the biggest name in Britain.
Yeah, definitely. No doubt about that.
Former top 10 player.
Absolutely. Former British number 1 as
well.
Had
beaten Carlos Alcaraz before.
But in recent times, his stocks has also fallen. Yeah. That's why we've had Draper.
He seems to be back.
The pecking order. The experience will count for him against Carlos Alcaraz.
Because he's beaten Carlos Alcaraz before.
Yeah, he's beaten before.
Yeah.
But now, also looking at the fact that Carlos Alcaraz also knows that he's the defending champions of the Wimbledon. I mean, it won't be so easy to knock him out that easy. But I think for Cameron Norrie, he has a whole lot of work to do in order to be able to exit Carlos Zakarax out of the competition. But I think I stake my claim with Carlos Zakarax. Yes, Ivana has talked about struggles, which is also one thing to also expect at some point in the season. He's played a whole lot, also won a whole lot already this year. So yeah, if you watch the game that happened on Sunday, I think that was his best game since the round one up until now.
Yeah.
So I think it's gradually, of course, improving in terms
Actually,
of
serves. It went to the fourth set anyway.
Absolutely. Yes, he went up to the fourth set.
Yeah.
But I think that was his best game all through the entire duration of the Wimbledon.
Unless it wasn't 5 sets.
So I think it's a gradual process for him. Let's see against Cameron
But
Norrie.
against a tough opponent, no matter how.
Yeah, Rublev's a tough player. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Cameron Norrie is that conversation for him. Taylor Fritz also advanced to Wimbledon quarterfinals after Thompson had to retire. Well, quickly, let's see what we can do when it has to the world of Formula One. We're talking about the event that took place at Silverstone, and home favorite got a victory in this one. Lando Norris of McLaren hitting the number, and him and Oscar Piastri also finding the balance 1 and 2 at the end of it. But somewhat somehow, these two are flying and flying very high. But Hulkenberg also claimed made in Formula One a podium, and it makes all the difference. The crowd seemed to be happy for Norrie in this one.
Very, very happy, and you could see him so smiling. He was smiling a lot.
Yeah, first time he's winning at home.
Had a busted nose, throughout the race, and he had to go on with that to win this particular one. The first time he's winning at home, you could see the excitement that surrounded that particular one. I was so happy for him. Exactly. What man keeps just. I have a soft spot for him now. Lewis Hamilton went up there, but still had issues with the car. Why? At this point of the season, I think it should be where we start seeing Ferrari doing better with the car system, the engine system, and everything with Lewis Hamilton. But it seems as if it's getting from fry pan to fire for Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, because he was complaining the same thing at Mercedes towards the twilight of it before leaving Mercedes, and now with Ferrari, he's complaining.
Well, there's a wise saying: leave the sport before it leaves you. Maybe Lewis Hamilton should do that.
I'm just happy about what Team McLaren are doing at the moment.
You don't care about Mercedes. You're just happy about
Oscar Piastri had a bad race in this particular race, but his teammates came up. Talk about Norrie rather, and I think at the moment he's doing quite well, phenomenal. 5 wins for Oscar Piastri, 4 for Norrie. It shows you how both sides are exchanging, wins, and of course, I think next one might just still be the side also winning.
It might be the side also winning. It's what David predicting, but Oscar Piastri was given a 10 seconds penalty based on how he drove. But it's that conversation, so really he had a back there. We'll go on a quick break, and when we're back, it will be football stories all around the world. Looking at a Club World Cup, looking at some of the best games that's taking place, and looking at the WAFCON and the Euros and the world of transfers. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to Sports Central. And my name is Vladimir Kumu. Diving Funny tonight, here with me for company. And now we're going to talk about football stories and football. Here we go. Well, no other place to start talking about football stories than to just hit a bit fast from the Euros before you get to talk about the WAFCON, because WAFCON is where the analysis will take center stage. And what we begin from the Euros, some games that have taken place in the women's Euros. And yesterday it started, and we saw Norway also getting the victory. Rather, it started not yesterday. I think it started far back, but the key game that took place was that of England being beaten 2-1 by France. England becoming the first defending champion to lose in this one. Well, other games also took place, and even Spain had beaten Portugal 5-0. Belgium losing to Italy 1-0. Denmark losing to Sweden 1-0. Germany beating Poland 2-0 in that. Wales, first time Wales are going to a major tournament in a women's game, being beaten by Netherlands. But the games took place yesterday. Norway 2, Finland 1, and Switzerland, the host, having that first victory in this one against Iceland. And today's game will be that of Spain against Belgium, Portugal against Italy. A game to really look forward to when it has to do with the Euros. Quickly, let's talk about the WAFCON and start from where it concerns us the most. It would be the Super Falcons of Nigeria. We saw the performance of beating Tunisia 3-0. First goal, 4 minutes into the game, was that of Asisa Shola. Well, afterwards, we saw uh, Babajide also scoring. Always get to the first name. The first name was not just Vinsola, the full name. That's something to really talk about. But in translate, we can stick with Vinsola Babajide, also celebrating in memory of Diego Jota in this one. But at the end of it, scoring the second goal and the third goal at the end of it, Hessel making the numbers count. Well, funny thing, I'll start with you. You saw the first game when it has to do with the Super Falcons against Tunisia. They're starting the campaign with a bang.
North African against North African teams.
Yeah,
so
Tunisia.
Remember when we started, we were talking about the North African teams as one of the teams who posed the most difficulties for the Super Falcons of Nigeria.
Well, maybe you thought about it.
About Morocco.
Only Morocco, and it's just once.
But they have almost the same style of play. Remember when we talked about it here, I was saying every team would always sit back against the Super Falcons of Nigeria. I talked about Morocco. We were saying that North African teams would always come out to play. That's the same thing as
we're saying Morocco come out to play, not Tunisia. Let's wait till they get to play Morocco.
My first sessions actually came right yesterday. When you play against Super Falcons of Nigeria, you always sit back. You cannot afford to come out because when you come out, they can hurt you at the back. So that's the thing here. Well, just in my Google now. Can
I just interrupt because he keep emphasizing it. When you play against Super Falcons, I watched Zambia play against Super Falcons. They didn't sit back last season. I watched South Africa play against Super Falcons. They didn't sit back. So enough of the hype. Just go into the analysis.
South Africa against Super Falcons in their very first game that defeated Super Falcons by 1-0 in the group stage.
No, they didn't.
Well,
they didn't. Let's stick with Tunisia. Let's stick with Tunisia. Enough of the hype over the Super Falcons, but good win for them.
Yeah, I think I'm just quite excited about the fact that what we saw during the friendly matches is not what we're seeing here at the tournament. I mean, quite a different case in terms of a build up to those goals, in terms of the goal scoring margin, 3-0. Quite good. Well, I've always known Super Falcons of Nigeria have no problems with North African teams. If that has actually happened in history, it should be once or maybe twice. They've usually, of course, override the North African giants in quotes.
Because they bring a lot of physicality compared to the North African side.
Absolutely. So a good win for them. I do not think they will have problems in the group stage because I look at the level of opponents and the quality they've got. They can't even match the Super Falcons at the moment. I think what would see the business part of it is when they begin playing the likes of Zambia. We're talking about South Africa and maybe in the semi-finals or the quarter-final stages.
The Morocco.
Yeah, the Moroccan side. That's where the big job is at the moment. But at the group stage, I think it might just be 3/3 or 4/4 wins for them. That's if they're able to get the wins in all of those games. I do not see any quality in that group.
Well, I just feel this particular segment of the show might stick with the WAFCON more. We'll pay more attention to the WAFCON. Maybe a little touch on the clock walk-up before we close. But let's look at something. The opener of it, because from the analysis I'm getting from you guys, is that there are basically 3 teams that can stop the Super Falcons. That we might have here and wonder moving to the title. So South Africa, defending champion, Zambia, the Copper Queens, and we're talking about the host Morocco. Let's talk about the opening game of the WAFCON. A game between Morocco and Zambia ended 2-2. At some point, Zambia were leading. Barbara Banda also hitting the number. And in that direction, and the Bay FC player now,
Kudamanji.
Absolutely, Kudamanji, fantastic. But we thought that we were going to steal that show. At the end of it, it never happened. Morocco did the comeback, fantastic comeback for them. 2-2. What a game we had in our hand from Tina.
Well, definitely Morocco not the host this time around, so you don't expect them to do as much as they did last time. Because last time
Morocco had a host this time.
Oh, sorry, Morocco had the host this time. So you expect them to do better than what they did last time.
Last time they were the hosting.
Yeah, they've hosted 2 times in a row.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's ridiculous. But at this time, I think
so we expect them to go far.
No, I don't expect them to go as far as possible because when you look at the last time they faced Nigeria, it was a draw in regulation time, and they got to beat the Super Falcons. That's why I keep asking the questions. When teams go against the Super Falcons of Nigeria, they sit back.
Unfortunately, just came back. Morocco just came out from in women's football.
Let's look at the game.
They've not been a top
We're
side.
talking about when you were facing the Super Falcons of Nigeria. I watched that particular game. Well, Super
I
Falcons
only
scored best.
wish you can stick with Morocco and Zambia.
We're analyzing who would stop the Super Falcons of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And I brought the Super Falcons into it. The last time Morocco faced the Super Falcons, they needed a red card to the Super Falcons from Deborah Biodun in that particular game before they had to equalize.
The red card is part of football.
That's what I'm talking about. So I think these other teams, they are good, but not good enough.
Not good enough. In other words, the Super Falcons are going on to win it for you.
Project X.
Okay. All right. Whatever project you want to call it, no problem. Well, other games, not many people get to talk about the Senegalese national team, but the Toms and DR Congo are 4 massive 0. You know, say, well, DR Congo women's football not so tough, not like the main side, but 4-0 something from Senegal.
Yeah, the very fact that we're also seeing, promising football being played by the men's team. I do not think the women's team of the Senegalese aside would also be exempted in this one. Yeah, developing, football by the side, and I think maybe in the next couple of years to come, they could also, rival the likes of South Africa and Nigeria for the WAFCON title. They have actually witnessed incredible growth, in football in that particular nation. So I'm not surprised at the moment. I think I really want to see them being tested at top level, and just like the teams we've actually mentioned, that could also be a major threat for Nigeria. When they're tested there, they will definitely know whether or not they're ready.
And when I test will definitely know whether or not they're ready. Other games that took place was Algeria against Botswana, 1-0 in favor of Algeria, both teams in the same group as the Super Falcons of Nigeria. And meanwhile, the defending champion, South Africa, the lockhouse today against Ghana. Ghana coach came back and said, look, after the friendly against Nigeria, being beaten, I think it was 3-1 in that direction, being beaten by Nigeria, the coach said, well, they believe they can do great things. It's been a while we've not seen Ghana in WAFCON. Yeah. One of the powerhouses in those days. Now they return to WAFCON, hosting, taking the defending champion South Africa.
I don't know. I do not know what kind of Ghana we should expect in the tournament. I must tell you, because it's been years where the last day played at this tournament. So many would also expect changes with the side, national team coach. Of course, the caliber of players they also are playing at the moment. But I think one thing would actually use to measure the level of football being played in Ghana would actually be the continental showpiece that has to do with the women. I think they have not been there over time. I think about 2 editions now. So it certainly shows some way, somehow, there have also been some decline in football in Ghana. And that's why there's also culminated in the national team as well. But I'm expecting effective representation for the Ghana women's national team. Let them play like it's been a side who have made the tournament for a long time, and maybe just to showcase their quality.
South Africa, but it's like South Africa.
Well, that's why I can't stick my neck for them.
Well, the guys have spoken. One of the games that's taking place there will be Mali against Tanzania, and we'll see what happens at the end of it. Well, if you move forward, I'm moving straight, and we hear that I'm looking forward to the Chan Eagles. Eagle B to begin the Chan preparation in Ikea. We can only hope that they give good performance at the end of it. And now to the FIFA Club World Cup. A 9-man Paris Saint-Germain defeated Bayern Munich to reach the semi-finals in Mula's Song. A last game for Thomas Muller has been an absolute phenomenon. 25 years in the sports and calling it quit at the end of it. Kylian Mbappe had a stunner for Real Madrid in quarterfinals over Borussia Dortmund. Well, before we get to talk about transfers, the last fixture would be the games we're expecting: Fluminense against Chelsea Football Club. We're going to count the numbers tomorrow, and Real Madrid against Paris Saint-Germain. Tomorrow we're going to talk about details of all of those for the semi-finals of it. And lastly, in the world of transfer, West Ham have rejected £50 million a Tottenham bid for Mohamed Kudus. The release clause for Mohamed Kudus is £85 million for Premier League clubs, and for Saudi clubs, £120 million. And for clubs outside the Premier League, £80 million. While negotiations ongoing, Kudus is saying he wants to go to Tottenham Hotspur. Well, Martin Zubimendi joins Arsenal from Real Sociedad. A release clause, £51 million. Arsenal didn't meet it. Edson Alvarez head Mexico to Gold Cup win over the United States main team. Back-to-back victories for them, Fontina, and Pochettino being the man in charge. 5 finals he's gone to and being beaten in the finals.
Well, I wouldn't really blame him for this particular one because the big names in the American squad were not available. Remember the likes of Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie.
Why do you always make excuses for Pochettino?
Come on, dude. Oh, you have to be unbiased now. He's a good manager. He went all the way to the finals. So I think
you expect United States to get to the finals.
Well,
Yeah.
they have to have quality
on the
opposition.
continent.
It's about the Canadian team doing so well in recent times, like of Jonathan David, Alfonso Davies,
Compared to the
and all
United
that.
States.
No, not compared, but when you
you
look
talk
at
about
the top
Panama.
team,
You
no,
talk about
Panama.
Panama.
Well,
The
I
biggest teams you talk about
It's
in the world
Mexico.
the United States of America and Mexico.
Mexico, yeah.
The rest try to count the number. John Duran Jones, Philip Eche on loan from El Nassr. After how many months? About 6 months going to the Saudi League. And Arsenal in talks to sign a sporting striker, a Gyökeres, Victor Gyökeres. We hear it's that conversation. A Gyökeres, as I said, is going to drop his
2 million
his
euros
wages,
wages.
€2 million in wages in order to push the deal to make sure it happens. Arsenal somehow racking up the numbers.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, here we draw a curtain to this edition of Sports Central. Tomorrow is another day, a new week, new action. Thank you guys for being a part of it. We'll talk extensively tomorrow.
A pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.